Hey guys, new video here. I'd like to talk about cast on crit assassin using dual Cospreys, Glacial Cascade in the Cospreys, EK in the chest, and some other stuff. This is day one. It's been 24 hours since I put on the two Cospreys. I first tested with the shield to see how it would be in future leagues if you can afford a second Cospreys, if it's as expensive as this league. And that was actually pretty good. The shield I was using was this. It's got a little bit of extra damage. It's got +1 to all the skills, EK and the GC. And that was pretty reliable. Put on the Cosplays is obviously a little bit better because we are doing a full juicer build. And what a full juicer build is, this is not a budget build. This is just something where you want to farm really hard and it's super fun to play. With full disclosure, if you're going to build a juicer build, bow builds are better. Bow builds are faster. They have better clear. They might even have higher upside on the cost if you really want to spend more on all parts of the build. With that said, Cast on Crit is iconic to PoE, right? Just like Whirlwind is iconic to Diablo, and like Frozen Orb is iconic to Diablo 2, you know, things like that. In PoE, Headhunter and Cast on Crit are the two iconic parts of PoE. So this build will be very high investment, and it is something that you can sink a lot of money into if you want to. Okay, I always do these by just running a map. This is a promenade map. This is, let's see, this is in Valdos. So let me use a couple sextants here, and we're just gonna go with, let's see, one. Okay, that's a little bit of pack, physical and Gloom Shrine, monsters that heal. That's fine, it's whatever, right? Let's keep those. So this map, I'm going to go ahead and put Beyond, because with juicer builds, you have to put the Beyond on. It is very reliant on stacking. So let's see how it plays, okay? Promenade is a pretty straightforward map. It is a tier 16, I believe. Yeah, tier 16. And so you'll see the stacks as they come up. At first, I'm very slow. Look at this, right? I'm extremely slow build, pretty dangerous here. And I'm going to go ahead and just kill these mobs, and slowly I do a weapon swap right here as I get a few stacks so I don't get insta-killed. And now I have Rampage, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear this map now, stacking up my Rampage. What Rampage does is at 1,000 stacks you basically have 100% extra increased damage. Yo, servers are really bad right now, by the way. Look at that lag. Usually that's instant. Wow, Texas is actually like dying right now. Look at this lag. And so the Rampage also gives you at 1,000 stacks, it gives you 20% movement speed. Wow, this is almost unplayable. What is happening here? What is wrong with this lag? Is this my... Well, I really don't know what's happening here. I'm just basically not hitting. So, well, let's just try to get through this map, okay? It might be a little bit iffy. There's some shrines here. And if you look at my... Oh, I don't even have self-curse on. What am I doing? I literally do not even have self-curse on. Okay. Now it should be on, so I'll be stacking a little bit more. Whoops, my Herald of Thunder wasn't on. So yeah, super laggy right now, sorry for that. I do these videos as one takes, so if something's a little bit off, you know, it's there's no going back, right? It's all off memory and stuff like that. So I might miss some things here, but hopefully I can show off this map. So as you can see now, I'm pretty good character. That's from the massive buff steal. And I'll try to go over like all facets of this build in this video because, you know, from my Twitch stream, I just noticed like there's like so many little like detailed questions that I might not even think it's important, because when you play the game for so long, it's just like kind of second nature to like know certain things. But I'll try to explain from a new player's perspective. Now, as a new player, you probably shouldn't be playing Cast on Crit because it's a little bit weird, and once again, super high investment. But I'll pretend like everyone's new, and I'll try to go over every little detail of it so that you know, if this is something you aspire to and you like the playstyle, you can do it. So basically, when I crit with my melee attack, which is Cyclone, my GCs are going out, my EKs are going out, and that is killing them. The EK is the biggest clear, the GC is added clear, added cleanup, and single target damage. So this one, let me pop this. This is a Metamorph. Let's do, ooh, Scarabs. So Metamorphs are sometimes a little bit scary. I actually have a clip. I have like 40,000. I think I have a clip where I have 40,000 EHP, right? Like 10k life, 30,000 ES, and I got one shot by a Metamorph, like red circle barrage on the ground. So pretty crazy. You'll notice how long all the buffs last because I'm using self-curse on this build, and I'll explain self-curse. I also have another YouTube video on self-curse if you want to check that out. So that's the map, right? Pretty easy, and now it's actually pretty slow. It was really laggy, so, and I didn't have the I did not have the buffs at the beginning being extended because I forgot to turn on my Herald of Thunder. And let's go ahead and get into this build. And because right now there's like some weird stuff going on with the Atlas where you know, I'm not really willing to juice my maps as much with things like prophecies or scarabs or master missions, which you can see here. I've done a lot of maps. I have 87 Einhars, 53 Albas, 90 Nikos, 97 Junes, 76 Zabas, and so I'm waiting on kind of like a patch that will be coming soon to fix these things. So this is only, I would say that these maps, to be conservative, are half juice, meaning you are half as fast and you are you know, half as many monsters in there, right? So that is very important to note for this build. How does it work? First, we'll talk about the Ascendancy. We are an Assassin, and Assassin is because for big crits. Now, the choices I made is, if you're leveling, I guess I would go Mistwalker first, and then I'd probably go like Ambush and Assassinate. Actually, I'll probably take like Opportunistic, actually, as like the Cruel Lab, and then Merciless and Uber right here, and then I'd make a swap into Ambush and Assassinate for this build. Let's see, this guy wants to buy my Essence of Horrors for some exalts. I'm making a video right now, so I can't do that, but these nodes right here, Mistwalker is just for elusive. So when you gain elusive is pretty crazy, right? Because you have a little bit of dodge. Dodge is like complete avoidance of like the spell or the attack, and that's huge because a lot of things that in this game right now will just one shot you, especially the metamorphs. Get a little move speed, which will definitely feel the bonus. Your character will glow green when you get this buff, and that's what the green MTX is. So you'll know you have it. It ticks down over time, so you'll get like less percentages of these buffs. You can read kind of the tooltip there if you want, okay? And then of course you get a little bit of effect and a little bit of reduced damage taken, and then you take no extra damage from critical strikes while you have this buff on at any percentage. So very good for maps that like you have what's it called, you have more monster crit. And once again, if you have awakening level, if you get this to level 8, things in the map are multiplied by 24%. So it just helps. It's like a defensive and a speedy ascendancy node, and without this you'll definitely notice it, right? Because some people like build around this elusive itself. It's a very coveted role on things like boots, and just getting like Badge of the Brotherhood expensive this league because of that. And yeah, so get the Mistwalker first. You'll definitely notice the benefits there. And then the reason I took Ambush and Assassinate is because it's a more multiplier to crit. So in this case, 100%, because there's no other like real more multipliers to crit on my tree or on my gear or anything. So 100% more on full life just doubles it. If I have all my power charges up and I have all my you know, all my auras up, all my things that give me extra crit, all my flasks up. Some of my flasks give crit right now, then you double that. And because that is over 50% naturally, and usually it'll be 100%, so you know, but in the cases that it's not 100% naturally, which you get to with stacks in the map, this will make it 100% for sure. And the 100% means that on the first hit you are going to deal you're gonna deal a guaranteed crit, right? Guaranteed crit means all your ailments go off. You know, the damage is gonna be so high, you're gonna stun the monster forever. So there's a lot of benefits to this. And then also when you get to low life, it's also double. So you get a metamorph low, you get a map boss low, you're gonna have 100% more crit naturally as well. So super powerful, and just like rounds out your character, so you're always cast on critting no matter what. Okay, the crit multi doesn't matter because when you have stacks, you're gonna have like 1,000, 2,000 crit multi. So it's very small, but in the beginning of the map, it might help. I have to stress that when you're building this character, you are primarily building the character to survive the first 10 to 20 seconds of the map. This is very important to note because in other builds, you build for an all-around like average damage hit, average survivability character, but on Headhunter and juicing builds, you build for only the 20 seconds that you're in the map in the beginning, because that's all that matters. After that, you're going to have over 10,000, 20,000 EHP. You're going to have 100% guaranteed crit. You're going to have 1,000 to 2,000 crit multi. You're going to have all kinds of like just infinite damage. Well, not infinite, but like really high damage, really high speeds, 2,000 move speed, 1,000 move speed, depending on if you have Beyond or Double Beyond or whatever sextants you're using. So it gets pretty crazy. So whenever you have like a huge number as like your baseline build somewhere in the middle of the map, then these small multipliers, they fail to matter as much. And only true more multipliers, things like I guess like Assassin's Mark and ally weakness and curses and things from Flask really matter, right? So that's important to know. Crits also have Culling Strike. Once again, this is kind of cool because if there is a specifically tanky boss or metamorph, you just basically do 10% more damage once you get them to that point because you're always critting. So this is a really nice node. This node is also extremely good. And I felt that if your gear gets to the right level, I think that this could be competitive as well under certain circumstances, but this is just safer and more reliable. So I took this. But this, like, while leveling and stuff, and while you're like, I'm not gonna go over the other circumstances, because this, if you know the other circumstances where this would be really good, then you don't need help with this build. So we won't really like talk about this, but let's go with Unstable Infusion. So this is just guarantees that you have you're gonna have all your power charges up all the time, no matter what. And then this is huge, because this is a little bit of multi. Once again, not that important once you're juicing, but you are going to have base crit while at maximum power. This is very important to know that this is base crit. What base crit means is, if you look at a gem like EK, okay, EK right here has a base crit of 6. Now you might think, like, after you scale your EK, maybe your EK has like 30% crit or something on the tooltip here. You see, like, mine has like 25, right, with power charge and stuff. The base crit adds to the initial 6%. And why is that so big? Because if you have 6% and you add 2% base, it is essentially 33% more crit, okay? It's not like you have this number here, 25%, and adds 2% onto that. It is the base, and that is massive. And this is good because it is at literally everything. It is your Herald of Ice. It is your Herald of Thunder. It is your melee hit. It is your physical explosion if you have that chest, which you will have that chest because the base versions are very cheap now. It is literally every single hit has a base crit added, and that makes things really crazy, because, you know, coupled with this and like all the little mini nodes and all the crit on the tree, you're going to be critting pretty much all the time. Okay, so super important there. And you get a little bit of movement speed at the beginning of the map too, and that's kind of nice. But that base crit is huge. You know, people pay, like Star League, they're paying 10 exalts for a Hatred Watcher's Eye that's 1.8 crit base. This is 2% added on top of that. You have Bottled Faith, which is, I don't know, 10 exalts or something like that. And the Bottled Faith is adding, I think, up to 2. I don't know what the max roll is. Let me check real quick. The max roll is, yeah, it's up to 2, right? Mine's 1.9. So base crit commands a steep price because it truly is that good. It is very hard to get multipliers to your crit in this way, right? So that's what I'll take. That is the Ascendancy. The swaps are, you could go this instead of this if your gear is supreme and like you never run Enfeeble, and your gear is just like perfect, right? But I don't know, this is just like the safe, reliable choice. I might test this out a little bit more later. As for the skill tree, once again, this is built around being a pure farmer, in the sense that you are building for the first 20 seconds of the map. So because of that, life nodes and stuff like that really fail to matter. I have some here because I just wasn't sure where to put my points. I'm still kind of iterating on this build. So we'll talk about like these jewels and stuff later, but this is just like the basic tree. A spell crit tree is going to be pretty similar. You can kind of look at this and make your own iterations. Since I'm using EK, I am using a Ring of Blades, and it's right here because this is a node, or this is a socket that has the necessary attributes inside. You don't need the attributes assigned inside. So you can see I only have 20 decks here, right? It says if 40 decks in the radius, right? I don't have that assigned. It just needs to be inside the radius. They changed that like a long time ago. Some people still don't know this. Now you might ask, why didn't you put it right here? And I didn't put it right here because of Glorious Venite. And this one I will talk about a little bit later. Okay, let's talk about the basic skill tree first. So I have some like crit, fizz, I have some damage, I have some more crit. I mean, like some of the bigger life nodes I'll take just because it's there. The Inspired Learning requires 4 notables, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You could also take this one, I guess, if you want. If you're up there, if you want to do some pathing like here and here, and you don't want to take like these nodes here, that's totally fine as well. And there's an Inspired Learning down here. I didn't take this one because this is just 30 multi. And remember what I said about having 1,000 to 2,000 multi. 30 multi is no longer any good, because think of it like this. If you have 300 multi and you get, and you have 100% crit, if you get 30 multi, that is 10% more damage, right? It makes sense. But if you have 3,000 multi, as an easier example for you to wrap your brain around, then that is only 1% more damage, right? So you can see how bad it gets the more multi you have, and we have a lot of multi. So this one's not even that good. And these turn from crit into like life and affected curse, right? So this is whatever. Now you could get this because I do have this curse thing here, so I've leveled a few times and I wanted it. I can go like a kind of a really bad life node, a very good curse node, because this affects my other curses, not just 10 chains. And I could take this, and I could take out this node right here. But once again, I'll talk about Glorious Variety in a little bit when we talk about the gear. Okay, going up here, now you might ask also, why don't you take Throat Seeker? Why don't you take Snowforge? Why don't you take Written in Blood? Why don't you take Doomcast, right? There's like a lot of nodes that are super good that I do not take. And remember, it is once again circling back to, we are building for the first 20 to 30 seconds of the map. That is the only thing that matters. And also, I do have a clip, I'll find a clip later, but I got one shot through 40,000 EHP. 40,000. If you don't know how crazy that is, I don't even know. 40,000 one shot with, well, it wasn't a one shot, it was a concentric circles targeting me after I had one shot the Metamorph. So I had one shot the Metamorph, and the Metamorph's after effect one shot me. You don't go for health in these situations, because if those one shots are unavoidable, and they will happen sometimes, and so you don't really build for HP on this, because you just need to survive the first 20 seconds. I cannot stress this enough. So the tree is very low on life. I take this life node here because it's a 4 notables for the Inspired Learning to work. Life over here, same reason. I have the 1, 2, 3, 4 notables for this Inspired Learning to work. I was using an Inspired Learning up here, but then my accuracy was complete garbage. So I had to take it out for now until I make some adjustments to my gear maybe, right? So actually this node right here, this 6% is a mistake. I just put it there because I had nothing else to, I didn't really think about it. I just want to be in maps. So that one's not very good. And then like even this right here, like you see this life right here, I might actually go like here for like the AoE damage for my GC, right? But this is just like a good connector node. And this node right here is also not that great. I'm gonna take that one out. So I have 2 points to spend somewhere. So that's basically true. You can make small adjustments. For example, you could take like Intuitive Leap Overcharge to get free charges, and this is like a really nice efficiency node, 10 and 6, right? So you can take Intuitive Leap, maybe get Corrupting Blood on that or something like that. And yeah, that's basically the skill tree. I will be tweaking this a little bit because I think this area right here could use some work on the right side. And maybe up here I might path through the AoE and stuff like that. I might path through this AoE and not even take this life, right? I know it sounds crazy to have like a 3k, 3.2, 3.3k life character, but the scaling and the way that the temp chains extends the buff so that you reliably have all the EHP for most of the map make it kind of okay. And this is the way that I hit level 100 multiple times in previous leagues, right? Like many level 100s with 3.2k characters, because the stacking of the Inspired Learning and the Headhunter is so strong once you start juicing your maps. Okay, so what else is there to talk about here? How many Inspired Learnings is worth? That's a common question as well. And I'll say start with 1, try it out. You'll probably like it. 2 is usually agreed upon as a good starter spot before you need a lot of character levels to really get this. Because look how many like wasted points this is, right? Look at this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 9 points that aren't doing anything, right? So like these are like notables are really the only thing you really go for. So that's kind of weird, right? I took this one just because I wanted a little bit extra crit chance on the Cyclone if it wasn't at 100, right? I just didn't have a point. So this one's actually kind of weird. I could take this one out, so now I have 3 points to spend, right? But I was just testing it out for mapping purposes, right? To get a little bit edge on my early game Cyclone. So that's it there. Let's talk about gear. Now this will be a big part. We have the Cospreys, right? And then the Cospreys, I went for 14% attack speed. Now I'm just gonna say this one. I know there's a lot of point of contention on CDR, breakpoints. How many attacks do you need? And I'm not gonna go over any of that because it triggers me that people don't understand how it actually works, and some of the information is wrong, and people keep parroting the same CDR. Like people say, like at 14% CDR, you need 7.57 or something. You're dual wielding, right? They alternate hits, and the best way I can explain this is when you have Headhunter buffs, on average in a map, you will have between 40 and 100 attacks per second. So this number right here on your Cyclone, if you look right here, right now I'm at 7.87, right? But it doesn't matter, because once I get any number of Headhunter buffs, this number will become 40 to 100. And it will never go below that. Okay, so the breakpoint stuff don't matter when you are playing a juicing build like this. As for the the rolls, basically get a 14% attack speed one, and then what you want to do is you want to get your you want to get your added cold pretty high. And the reason for that is because if you look at the added damage, that's like pretty good, right? That's like half of a Hyries. So essentially, if you have 2 of these, you're looking at like pretty much wearing a Hyries Ire if you were like pretend you're a bow build, right? And Hyries Ire is very good for that reason, because that massive added cold. And if you're playing things depending on what skill you want to do, you might have some damage effectiveness. So look at this. EK has 1.2 coefficient for its added damage. What that means is it's 1.2 multiplied by all the added damage from other sources. GC, if you look at this, I'm using 2 GCs here. Glacial Cascade only has 60% effectiveness of added damage. And you might be like, oh, that's pretty bad, huh? 60%, because then it's like 6% of like a less multiplier. Well, GC at anything except for point blank, anything like a little bit farther radius from your character, it will probably overlap. GC can overlap, especially the big, like the boss mobs and the bigger mobs. It goes out in like a series of waves. It's kind of hard to explain, but most mobs are not like directly on top of your character, just a tiny bit farther away, might get hit by 2 GC stacks. So that damage is actually multiplied by 2 usually, okay? And so really you're getting that 60% twice. So it's still pretty damn good. And so that's the thing about effective damage there, why the Cosprey's added cold to spells kind of matters. And yeah, it's pretty strong. And it's like adding another link to your chest, which is already kind of gimped because the Cyclone is 1 link. So you're taking it down 1 link. Okay, that is the core to the build, 2 Cospreys, and then as for the weapon swap you saw in there, I'm using a Sinvictus, and the reason I use a Sinvictus is because once I get a few stacks, so I feel really safe about swapping, I press my number 1 is my weapon swap, and so I'll swap to this, and look at this, I have every single hotkey on Cyclone so that I know visually that this is not the Cyclone to be on later on. You swap to it, you need to kill 1 monster. 1 monster kill gives you your character Rampage, and then you can press 1 and swap back. You need to change your hotkeys maybe. Okay, this is important because the Sinvictus, why is this so effective? Because on other builds, I used to use a Sinvictus on like a bow character and use Ice Crash. But this, I don't need to sacrifice any links. You know why? Because the Cyclone is my chest. So this Cyclone is the exact same as the Cyclone from my main setup, and because it's pulling from the chest, not the weapons. So I'll lose the GC cast, but it doesn't matter because my EK does a lot of damage. It will always one-shot any of the white monsters. A lot of time it will one-shot blues and rares with any amount of stacks. And so this this weapon swap Rampage generator with 1 kill is enough to very reliably 1-tap. So you switch, you 1-tap, you switch back. That's all it takes. It's very easy to do. You get really used to it. Other options are you can level with you can go with this. You can go with like an all white bow, or a bow that has a quality of socketed gems craft if you want to level Enlightenment powers. I'm not leveling Enlightenment powers in this setup right here with the Malonies. I'm leveling Awakened gems because I can sell the challenge of someone clicking the level up from 4 to 5 for a few exalts, 2 to 5 exalts maybe. So I have an all white socket bow, so I can switch in any gem I want, and then I have a Malonies. Malonies unfortunately cannot be bench colored. Feels bad, so you have to chromatic spam to whatever you need. So this allows for 9 gems to be leveled instead of the 6 here. So a little bit of benefit, so you lose a little bit of money this way, but you get Rampage. Rampage once again at full stacks, which when you're fully juicing you will, is 100% increased damage, 20% move speed. Okay, and you get all kinds of other stuff like stun spears and corpse explosion and all these cool effects. But yeah, this is your other option. Malonies for leveling gems along with a bow, right? That's probably the best option if you're money centric. Okay. That's the swap there. As for the chest, so if we're gonna list combos or things that make mapping faster and more enjoyable, the number 1 would be the Headhunter Inspire Learning combo, right? Like if you have some build that's a hitting, preferably physical based, hitting crit based build, by putting on a Headhunter Inspire Learning combo, that is number 1 for both speed, efficiency, and just power. The number 2 would be this Explodey chest. Now you can get it on a weapon, but how are we gonna get it on a weapon? Because we have Cospreys. So, and the weapon is a Nebulous, which is like meh. So you get the Explodey weapon chest, which is the most important thing. The Explodey weapon chest makes it so that monsters that killed deal 3% of their life as physical damage. That can be scaled by conversions. It can be scaled as added damage. It can be scaled by anything on your tree that has anything to do with AoE you know, generic damages, physical damages, things like that, right? So it will clear, and it is just a kill condition on itself. As long as the enemy, if enemy X dies, then Y will happen, okay? It doesn't matter if you kill it, it doesn't matter if they die from a I don't know, like well, not labyrinth trap, but it doesn't matter if they die from minions. I know it doesn't work, but it can be literally anything, right? If this will chain on itself. I have videos in the past of how hard it chains, and this actually plays a big role in the links that I've chosen in my other sets, which we'll go over in a little bit. So really what you want to get is an explodey chest. You might want to fill out your resist a little bit. That's why I got the lightning resist one, and the attack one is really nice. So I'll divine this one to perfect. The attacks have 1.5. This is base crit, by the way. So the 1.5 base crit here gets added to the Cyclone, and then the Cyclone is more reliably 100% critting. Because if you have, let's say you have 100% accuracy, then you want to get 100% crit, because then every single attack is a crit, right? So you want to get as close to 100 as possible. That is the chest. So priority list is a physical exploding chest, capping out resist, and then if you have the luxury, if you have 10 to 20 exalts, then you can get a attack crit chest, and then if you have a lot more exalts, you can get a curse chest as well. But at this point, you might as well save up for a mirror to mirror someone else's. Like in a few weeks, there'll probably be some insane explodey, curse, crit, something else chest, right? It'll be really, really crazy, and maybe I don't really know yet. Okay. As for the amulet, I am self-cursing, so the required self-curse setup for the assassin is going to be the Solstice Virgil, right? Because with a Solstice Virgil, you need close to about, you need actually 75%. Okay, let me explain it this way. If you have a Solstice Virgil, you need 45% curse effect, okay, for temp chains to get 4 times the number of buffs, right? Because that's just how it works. If you read the temp chains here and you do the math, it's like, this is how it works. And so basically this allows me to get 45% curse effectiveness somewhere. So you can get 4% from a Conqueror's potency. You can get 11% from a 23% quality curse on hit. If you have an Awakened curse on hit, no one's corrupting those yet, right? So that's gonna be 10%. So that's 10 plus 4, and then now you need 31 more. Now there are helm enchants that have 30% temp chains curse effect that you can craft on. That's a great option. But for me, I use the Ethereal Knives projectile speed. And this is also a big part about this build, in that the 30% Ethereal Knives, it is true AoE, because there's nothing in the game that can really stop projectile speed. If you go AoE, so a lot of people are playing Cast on Crit, Ice Nova, Frostbolt, and that's really, I don't really like that build, because first, it's not a physical scaler, and second of all, the AoE gets DR'd because the more AoE you have investment, the worse your points are, and the worse your links are on the tree. You don't have so much damage. And then also, if you get hit by a map that has less AoE, you have to remember we have Awakening level 8 now, and that makes that less AoE even less. And so it just like felt really bad. So that's why I don't like the Cast on Crit Frostbolt Ice Nova combo. But that's a good starter Cast on Crit build. But if you get projectile speed of any kind on the EK, right? EK has a little bit of spread, a little bit of variance, but you are going to get like true AoE. And eventually, I'm probably going to upgrade to the goal one day. And the goal means that you can get mini acceleration shrines. And when you get a real acceleration shrine, it's just like insane AoE on the EK, right? Really good coverage, and you cannot get that AoE hindered in any way, and especially not because I'm using a Pierce gem here. So that's very important. This helmet is well, I think was like 2 exalts, and the craft was essentially free, because pristine and frigid fossils are, it's whatever. If you're going to invest in this build, that's nothing, right? Super cheap fossils, you just use those 2, you just spam it on here. The hollow fossil is what gives me the abyssal socket, so that's a little bit more expensive if you want that, but you don't have to. And so the negative 9 cold res, because I'm mostly cold damage, but before any kind of scalers, and the resist help a little bit. Let me go back to the curse setup a little bit, right? Because if you look right here, if you don't want to go the temp chains helmet enchant for 30%, right, you need to get 45% total. So I have 10% from an awakened, where is it? I have 10% from awakened curse on hit. Maybe one day if it hits level 5 and I corrupt it, I can get 23%, which would be 11. But let's assume a 10 from here. And then I have the Conqueror's potency. So that's 4% right there, right? That's 14. And where else am I getting it from? Well, I'm getting a little bit here. So if you look right here, I have a Hex Master, that's 13 right there. And so that's 13 plus 14, right? That is 27. 27 plus 4 is 31. 31, right? Plus the 4 is 35. And then 35 plus the curse on hit 10 is 45. So I have an 80-second headhunter buff. Basically, everything's multiplied by 4. My flask duration will be 4 times longer, right? My rampage timer, you usually have like, I think 4 seconds to generate the next rampage stack before it falls off. I have 16 seconds on that. And the biggest one, of course, is the 80-second inspired learning and 80-second header buffs is like super OP, completely broken if you can get this to work. So that's why you need a glorious Vidania. I recommend right here because it's good notes. Now, let me tell you what the perfect rolls are. Perfect would be this. You already take this node for inspired learning. So on this node right here, if you can get 15%, it's always called like ancient hex, right? So on this node right here, this is normally a frenzy node. If you can get that to be 15%, and then you can get this point, this is survivalist, right? It's usually like the 8% all res, 1% max cold. If you get ancient hex here with a 15% roll, because there are variances in the rolls, that is 30% right there, right? And that is saving me 1, 2, 3, 4 points. That's insane. So eventually I'll want to go for that, and I know the numbers for something like that because I've had it in the past. That is so good because you save 4 points and you get the perfect amount. 30 plus the 4 plus the 11, right, from the curse on it, and it's just like perfect. But right now it's early league and I don't have time to do that. I'd rather just go into a map, so it's okay. But eventually I will be saving 4 points, and that's crazy. So that's what you want to do, okay, if that makes sense. I know it's super confusing, but there's other videos you can watch about temp chains and stuff like that. Now, let's talk about the rings. This is an Assassin's Mark on hit ring with some life and res, and then this is this is a big resist ring, an unset ring, so I could put a gem in it, and then it also has the -3. The -3 without inspiration in the chest makes my Cyclone 1. And that's actually really good. You're not going to run out of mana with that, usually, unless it's a cannot regen and you spam it too much with too much attack speed. Once again, 40 to 100 attack speed. You can see how fast the mana would go down there. And so cannot regen mats are a little bit scary if you're not careful. But what you can do is you can just put in an inspiration instead of like control destruction, and then it'll be free. And that's super reliable and safe. As for the booties, you have to use Combs Roots with the self-curse setup. The shackles and Combs Roots go hand in hand. The only time you don't need Combs is if you are a jug with Unstoppable, right? Because that's the same thing. And without the Combs Roots, you will be super slow for most of the map. Do not play this if you're new or if you know what you're doing. Even people who know what they're doing, you will not play without the Combs Roots, okay? It is a complete necessity, and you can either go with a 10% enchant on the Uber Lab, the movement speed, or you can get a corruption for 10%. Ideally, you want both. You want a 10% enchant, you corrupt it, and you will get another 10% movement speed corruption, hopefully. But there's also dodge corruptions and stuff that are really good. But it doesn't matter because later on you're going to have 1,000 move speed anyways. But this is just for the start of the map. 10% corruption is better than 10% enchant because this enchant has a condition, and that's you haven't been hit recently. If you've been hit recently, you lose that at the beginning. And at the beginning of a map, you are going to be getting hit a lot. So try to get the 10% corruption movement speed if you can, okay, with as high life as possible, but the life is secondary. The shackles work. That is the socketed gem is the one that gets reflected to you. It doesn't work if you have a temp chains corruption on here. I have LE weakness because that's a really strong curse. So the setup is going to be a temp chains. This like level doesn't really matter. It's a temp chains. It's a Herald of Thunder and a curse on hit, right? This one is flame dash just because I need the flame dash to clear the thing called green vines. It's called Vile Grip. You can steal it from Nas, makes you slow. Flame dashing once clears it. You can also use Enlighten here if you need more mana, but you really shouldn't. And so basically the Herald of Thunder will tick onto enemies, and this is actually like, it's very important to know that you don't need the curse limit for this. Even if you, let's say you had 100 curses and you only had 2 curse limit, for whatever reason, the way the game works is if the Herald of Thunder hits with the curse on hit temp chains, it'll still reflect the temp chains on you even if the temp chain isn't the one to apply to the monster. And I'll explain that a little bit because I have this ring here. I'm going to switch to Poacher's Mark soon, maybe if I one day get a curse chest, and that is look at my curses, right? I got Assassin's Mark, I have LE weakness, and right now I have temp chains casting a cast from the Herald Thunder. That's 3 curses, right? I have Whispers of Doom here. That gives me 1 additional curse. Your default curse limit is 1. So adding this is 2. So how does that work if I have 3 curses but only 2 curse limit? Well, every hit that I do without Herald of Thunder applies 2 curses. So when I hit with my Cyclone, my Physical Explosion, my EK, my GC, right? Any of my Rampage spears that go out, those hits only apply Assassin's Mark and Ellie Weakness. They will never apply the Temp Chains. Only when the Herald of Thunder hits in a single target scenario with the Temp Chains, or like in a clearing scenario where I didn't like kill the mob right away, the temp chains from the Herald of Thunder will hit different mobs every 250 milliseconds. It'll hit the same mob, a boss mob or a metamorph, every 400 milliseconds. And what that means is that it is so reliable for keeping the temp chains on you without wasting your curse limit, if that makes sense, right? So what that means is everything I hit to kill and clear has Assassin's Mark and Ellie Weakness. And then when the temp chains hit something, it applies the temp chains back to me, right? So full temp chain setup. And I'm hitting so fast that it doesn't matter if it stays on there, because my next hit of any of my stuff will apply the correct 2 curses. This is very important to know, okay? And it'll work with increased 1 curse, because when I put on a Poacher's Mark, eventually, I now have 4 curses, right? I have Temp Chains, Poachers, Assassins, and Ellie Weakness. And if I have a 3 curse limit by adding a curse to my chest, then even though I have a 3 curse limit and 4 curses, the 3 good ones will apply from me killing, okay? This is a kind of weird to think about, but that's just how it works. Belt is going to be a Headhunter. This is a Headhunter build. Everything about this build is built around cheesing and juicing the map up to have a really massive character. So you definitely want to get this belt. And what else do I have? What else did I talk about? I'll talk about the enchant, right? Get this enchant. It is true AoE. It is the reason I'm playing this build. And as for the, I guess I can go over the flask as well. Diamond Flask of Dousing, really nice, because with Dousing, the ignites like kind of stop your ES regen, and sometimes when you have like a lot of ES, it's kind of annoying. Ignite boxes are kind of scary and stuff like that, so that's why I chose. You can also go with like Staunching if you don't want to go Corrupting Blood Jewel. You can go Grounding, whatever you want, right? This is a Cinder Swallow. This is for recovery, really nice in the beginning of the map. You want to get an 80% crit chance roll there if you can with 333, if you can, but doesn't really matter. Quicksilver Adrenaline for speed at the beginning of a map, as Zuby's promised, because it's double dipping. The physical from the GC, the EK gets added, and then the LE damage, because I'm converting a lot of stuff, also gets added. The Bottled Faith, this is base crit if they're on the constant ground, and 10% more damage if they are on the, before you have any other more taken modifiers, right? Like if you look at this one right here, so the enemies ignited take 10% increased damage. So I believe that these two share it. So it's not really, it's like 9% more damage, not 10% if you know how like the math works, but still it's the same thing. So how do we ignite the enemy, right? Because only enemies ignited by me during my flask effect is on take that extra damage. Well, we have this ring here, and this ring here has some fire damage to attacks. And because I have 100% crit, every time I hit him with my Cyclone, I will be applying an Ignite to them. However small, it works for the 10% more damage. But also, there's a Headhunter and Inspire Learning Steel that's 25% of your Fizz damage as extra fire. So with that setup, what's going to happen is you're always going to have fire on your spells too. So your spells ignite, that counts as you igniting. You're going to get the benefit from the Cinder Swallow Flask. So it's always on, very reliable, and very, very good in the first stages of the map when you need some recovery from killing a mob, right? Because you're going to take a lot of hits, and I don't have much mitigation here. So later on, though, I might try swapping the Bottled Faith for something like maybe like a Taste of Hate or something. Because Taste of Hate is like really good multiplier as well, and I don't think I really need the crit that much. And Bottled Faith is I don't know, it's the consecrated ground is massive. I'll show you right here. I hit it, like you see that, like the range of it is like pretty big. It's triple the consecrated ground radius, but my EK goes out sometimes so far that it just doesn't it doesn't really reach like the people, right? Like it doesn't reach the things far away that the EK can hit, so it's a little bit less effectiveness there, whereas Taste of Hate would be defensive and it would be more damage all the time, more reliable. So I'm gonna test that out for like 50 maps or something later on. That's another swap you can do there. Talking about gems, okay? Conk Effect, I didn't get this to be 21, but Glacial Cascade, Conk Effect, and Awaken Control Destruction. I really like these links. Let's talk about Cold Pen. The reason you don't want Cold Pen, okay, you have to think about in the scenarios that you're doing, how much split damage do you have? And although if I look at my GC right here, you can see I'm pretty much all cold. You're like, you're pretty much all cold. Why not cold pen, right? For those LE resist maps and stuff. Well, think about the steals from HH. You get 25% of fizz as cold. Sure, that's great. But you also get 25% of fizz as fire. Right? You can't steal it as lightning, unfortunately, but as fire. So half the time you get that steal, and it's a very common steal, you are going to have fire damage added. And with enough of that, you're going to have a significant amount of fire damage, So these things add up to where cold penetration might only be affecting, I don't know, 70, 80, 90% of the damage. And I'd like something that affects all the damage that gets added, and that is control destruction, because this has no limit on what kind of damage added to the spell is more. If I cold pen, my fire pen does, my fire added damage is that much less multiplied. So I wanted true multiplier, so I went with the Conch and the Awaken Control Destruction. Now in this one, I have this Ice Bite. And what I found when I took this out is that usually in the middle of the map somewhere, I'll have max frenzy charges, because there's a very easy steal where it's like frenzy charge generation. They can steal from a rare monster. But what if I get unlucky and I don't get that until the middle of the map or something, right? Or like it just takes longer. I wanted this right away. I want the frenzy charges right away. So I put an Ice Bite in here. If you find that you are stealing enough frenzy generation from the rare monsters themselves, drop the Ice Bite for control destruction for sure. And then get the, obviously I have the control destruction. I have the Ice Bite, and I have the GC here, right? Conch effect is really nice, but this one I wanted a little bit wider of a thing, just because like I have two of them, right? So this one maybe a little bit extra coverage, but Conch effect can go in here as well. Okay, that's other GC. So other swaps, you can like try out whatever other skills you want, but I really like this setup here. Okay. Gems in the chest, I have Awaken Control Destruction. I have the Ethereal Knives here. I have a Cyclone. I have Pierce. Now, why did I go with Pierce? Pierce is because I have Exploded Chest. Exploded Chest will pretty much take care of all your clear if they are close by. Herald of Ice also takes care of a lot of your clear. So I didn't feel that I needed Chain. Although I'm going to test out Awaken Fork and Awaken Chain, there's just not a lot of situations in a map where something can chain back on itself, because like physical explosions are just overriding it and just killing everything. So Pierce gives me true AoE, no blockages, nothing where like I hit a mob, the chain goes like the other way, and now I don't have coverage behind the mob, weird things like that. So Pierce is just like true AoE, the most reliable form that I found after some testing. And then I Fist of Lightning to convert half of my Fizz damage to Elemental, and it gives a more multiplier as well. And then obviously you need the Cast on Crit. Obviously you're gonna also use Awaken Cast on Crit once they fix the bug of the cooldown, and it'll give you a little bit of CDR. And the gloves, I already went over that. Helmet, I have this jewel here because I needed like 15 intelligence, and the tier 1 roll is 12 to 16, so you need to search for 12 if you want to divine it. Accuracy very important, to the point where I have gotten 100/90 accuracy, and that's good enough for me. I would like to get 100, but it's really hard. And so I have Hatred with Enlighten with Herald of Ice there, and the Hatred ties into this Watcher's Eye, right? So this one right here is the GC automatically converts 60% of the physical into cold, and then this one converts the rest of the 40% there. And the Ethereal Knives is not converted, right? Because it's just pure fizz. But I have the Fist of Lightning, that's 50, and then this also works for it. So 40% of the EK damage is now cold, right? So it's 40% cold, 10% fizz, 50% lightning. Where can you get the other 10%? Well, if you wanna go with Glorious Vanity, I'm pretty sure has a pretty common stat that's like convert. Let's see if I have it here. I don't know if I have it on the side, but okay, I don't think I have it here. But a Glorious Vanity can actually convert 10% of element into cold. So you could get that as well if you really want to min max and get all LE damage there. Okay, this base crit applies to everything, the 1.6, it goes up to 1.8, and that applies to my Herald of Ice, it applies to my EK, my GC, my Cyclone, very important there, and also the Fizz Explosion. So now the Fizz Explosion have like another base crit roll along with this and other things. So that's pretty crazy, right? The chest that has the attack crit on it, if you don't have that, you can try putting in like an increased crit somewhere, maybe like instead of Pierce or something like that, or Awaken Control Destruction. You put on increased crit, that might help you out a little bit, because that's a 2% roll. Other than that, what is there to talk about? That's about it. This will change a lot. This is just early goings while I kind of figure out the build some more and do some more swaps. You are very limited on the links. You see this you see this like ring here? I took an unset ring so I could fit in a VRF. Because once again, you're building for the first 20 to 30 seconds of the map. one shots can hit you from 40k EHP, so it doesn't really matter. You don't need really any life. You're just going for pure damage to kill everything before it kills you, and you can actually, you know, pretty reliably hit level 100 like that. So I went with a damage setup in here. Yeah, very limited on links here, but you know, you can figure that out. If you want to use a shield, you get 3 more support links. So you can put like a cast on damage taken setup. You can put like a Whale of Grace that's really strong, right? You can't take aggro and phase aggro because this jewel converts like these things. You don't need to worry about the general that's on the name of the Glorious Vanity, because you're only going for the little nodes where like the name of the general doesn't matter, because that only affects like these this big keystones. That's the build. If you have any questions, you can ask me on twitch.tv/qdog_. I will be iterating. This is just Mark 1. I'll be iterating on it quite a bit as the days go on. I think it's like super fun, super reliable, and I've been able to get to 96, as you can see, on my way to 97, and I think I can hit level 100 with this without much issue, especially once they add back the sextants, because then you're just unkillable with that amount of monsters in the map. Okay, I probably missed some stuff here, but I might make a follow-up video, but that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Okay, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me on my channel. Okay, bye guys, thank you for watching my video. Bye.